Now understand this carefully, because this is where most men lose control of the situation without even realizing it. Once someone has created a narrative about you, they no longer see you as you are. They see you through the lens of that narrative. Every action you take becomes evidence. Every word you say is interpreted, filtered, and reshaped to confirm what they already believe. If you succeed, they assume you manipulated the situation. If you remain quiet, they assume you are hiding something. If you speak confidently, they assume you are arrogant. And the more consistent you are in your behavior, the stronger their narrative becomes. Because consistency removes doubt. It allows them to say, "See, I was right about him." And once someone reaches that point, you cannot change their perception by explaining yourself. This is where most men make their biggest mistake. They try to correct the misunderstanding. They try to explain their intentions. They try to prove that they are not what people think they are. But in doing so, they achieve the opposite effect. Because the moment you begin explaining yourself, you enter their frame. You accept their narrative as something that needs to be corrected. And once you do that, you lose position. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who constantly defends himself creates suspicion where none existed, because defense implies accusation, and accusation implies doubt, and doubt spreads faster than truth. So the more you explain, the more you reinforce the very perception you are trying to escape. This is why the strongest position you can hold is silence combined with consistency. Not silence driven by fear, not silence driven by avoidance, but silence driven by understanding. The understanding that not every perception needs to be corrected, not every opinion needs to be addressed, and not every person deserves access to your explanation. Because attention is a form of validation, and when you give attention to false narratives, you validate them. Now here is where the dynamic shifts. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop reacting to subtle hostility, when you stop adjusting your behavior to please people who have already decided how they see you, something unusual begins to happen. The same people who were comfortable judging you begin to feel uncertain. Why? Because their expectations are no longer being met. They expected a reaction. They expected defense. They expected engagement. But instead, they get nothing. No confirmation, no denial. Just calm, controlled indifference. And this creates a psychological gap. The human mind hates gaps. It needs closure. It needs clarity. It needs something to hold on to. And when it does not get it, it begins to fill the gap with its own imagination. Questions begin to form. Doubt begins to appear. The certainty they once had starts to weaken. And this is where the power begins to return to you. Because now, instead of you trying to control how they see you, they begin trying to understand you. Instead of you reacting to their perception, they begin reacting to your absence of reaction. The dynamic reverses, not through force, not through argument, but through restraint. This is the art Machiavelli was pointing toward. Not domination through aggression, but control through composure. And this is what most people cannot handle. They are used to predictable patterns: attack, response, criticism, defense, action, reaction. But when that pattern is broken, when they encounter someone who does not respond in expected ways, they lose their reference point. And when people lose their reference point, they lose their sense of control. This is why the most dangerous person in any environment is not the loudest one. It is the one who cannot be emotionally moved, the one who does not react, the one who does not explain, the one who remains stable regardless of what is said or done around him. Because stability under pressure is interpreted as power, and power, even when subtle, always creates a reaction. Some will respect it, some will fear it, and some will resent it even more. But here is the truth you must accept if you want to operate at this level. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to become someone who cannot be easily dismissed. and those two paths do not lead to the same outcome. If you try to be liked by everyone, you will constantly adjust yourself, you will soften your edges, you will filter your thoughts, you will reduce your presence, and in doing so, you will become acceptable but forgettable. But if you choose to remain aligned with yourself, if you choose to maintain your standards, your direction, your composure, you will create division. Some will be drawn to you, others will distance themselves, and a few will quietly oppose you. That is not failure, that is clarity. Because the moment people begin reacting to you differently, you start seeing who is who. You start recognizing who respects you, who envies you, who competes with you, and who cannot tolerate what you represent. And once you see that, you stop wasting energy. You stop trying to win approval from people who are never going to give it. You stop explaining yourself to people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You stop shrinking yourself to maintain comfort in environments that require your limitation, and instead, you become selective. Selective with your time, selective with your attention, selective with your presence, because you finally understand something most people never learn. Not everyone who smiles at you is on your side. Not everyone who supports you wants to see you win, and not everyone who is close to you deserves access to you. This is not paranoia, this is awareness, and awareness changes how you move. You become quieter, but not weaker, more observant, but not passive, more controlled, but not detached, because now you are no longer reacting blindly to social signals, you're reading them. And once you can read them, you can navigate them. Now understand this final truth. The goal is not to eliminate hidden resentment. You cannot, because as long as you grow, as long as you improve, as long as you carry yourself with direction and discipline, you will trigger something in others. That is the cost of standing out. But the goal is to stop being affected by it, to stop needing approval, to stop adjusting your identity to fit other people's comfort, to stop explaining your existence to those who have already decided how they see you. Because the moment you stop doing that, something changes. You become grounded, untouchable in a psychological sense, not because no one dislikes you, but because their dislike no longer controls your behavior, and that is the highest form of power. If this made you see people and yourself differently, then you already understand why most men never reach this level, because this requires discipline, not motivation, not emotion, discipline. So if you're still here, you're not like most people. Make sure you like the video so this reaches others who are still blind to this dynamic. Share it with someone who needs to understand what's really happening around them. And subscribe, because what we do here is not surface-level advice. We break down the real structure behind power, perception, and human behavior. And if you're ready to go deeper, the real content is behind the join button. Most won't go there, but you already know why.
Now understand this carefully, because this is where most men lose control without even realizing it. Once someone forms a narrative about you, they no longer see you as you are. They see you through what they've decided you are. Every action becomes evidence. Every silence becomes meaning. Every move you make is interpreted to confirm what they already believe. If you succeed, they say you got lucky. If you stay quiet, they say you're hiding something. If you speak with certainty, they say you're arrogant. And the more consistent you are, the stronger their belief becomes. Because consistency removes doubt. And once doubt is gone, their version of you becomes permanent in their mind. This is where weak men fall into the trap. They start explaining. They try to correct the perception. They defend themselves, thinking clarity will fix everything. But it never does. Because the moment you explain yourself, you enter their frame. You accept their judgment as valid enough to respond to. And the second you do that, you lose position. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He warned that a man who constantly defends himself begins to look guilty even when he is not, because explanation signals something dangerous. It signals that their opinion has reached you, that it has weight, that it has influence, and once people feel they can influence you, they begin to test it. This is why silence is not weakness. Silence is control. But not emotional silence, the kind where you're hurt and holding it in. No, this is strategic silence, the kind that comes from clarity, the kind that says, I see what this is, and I choose not to engage. And when you operate from that place, something shifts in the dynamic. People start becoming uncertain. They expected a reaction, they expected movement, they expected energy, but instead, they get nothing. No defense, no anger, no explanation, just calm, controlled presence. And that absence begins to disturb them more than any argument ever could. Because the human mind needs feedback. It needs to know where it stands. It needs to measure its impact. And when it cannot do that, when it throws something at you and nothing comes back, it begins to question itself. Did it work? Did it matter? Did it reach you? And when those questions begin, their certainty collapses. This is where power begins to reverse. Because now, instead of you reacting to them, they begin reacting to you. Not to your words, but to your lack of them. Not to your actions, but to your restraint. And the same people who were comfortable judging you now feel something they can't explain. Tension, curiosity, and sometimes even respect. Because nothing unsettles people more than a man who cannot be emotionally moved. Think about it. Most people are predictable. Push them and they react. Challenge them and they defend. Ignore them and they chase. But when someone breaks that pattern, when they remain centered no matter what happens, it creates a psychological imbalance. And in that imbalance, authority is born. Not loud authority, not forced dominance, but quiet control. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself, the kind that is felt without being announced, the kind that makes people adjust their behavior around you without even realizing why. Machiavelli didn't teach men to be liked. He taught them to be understood, and then to move beyond the need for that understanding. Because once you rely on approval, you become controllable. But when you remove that need, you become something else entirely. Unpredictable. And unpredictable men are respected differently. Now here is the truth most men are not ready to accept. The moment you stop trying to be liked by everyone, you will start being disliked by some. Not because you changed, but because you stopped adjusting, you stopped bending, you stopped filtering yourself to fit expectations, and that alone will create friction. But that friction is necessary, because without it, you remain invisible. You remain safe, agreeable, easy to understand, and easy to ignore. But the moment you step into your own center, the moment you operate from your own direction, the moment you stop negotiating your value, you create division. Some will be drawn to you, some will step away, and some will quietly begin to oppose you. That is not a problem, that is clarity. Because now you can see. You can see who respects you, who envies you, who competes with you, and who simply tolerated you when you were easier to control. And once you see that, you stop wasting energy. You stop explaining yourself to the wrong people. You stop investing in the wrong environments. You stop trying to win approval from those who benefit from misunderstanding you. And instead, you become selective. Selective with your attention, selective with your time, selective with your presence. Because now you understand something most people never learn. Not everyone deserves access to you. And more importantly, not everyone deserves an explanation from you. This is not about becoming cold. This is about becoming clear. clear about who you are, clear about how you move, clear about what you tolerate. And once that clarity is established, everything around you begins to shift. People either align with it or they remove themselves from it, and either outcome works in your favor. Because the goal was never to be surrounded by everyone. The goal was to be surrounded by the right ones. And the right ones are not threatened by your presence. They are strengthened by it. Closing tag, powerful CTA. If this opened your eyes, understand this. You've only seen the surface. Most men will hear this and still go back to explaining themselves, still chase approval, still ignore what's really happening right in front of them. But you're not most men. So if you're ready to move differently, think differently, and operate at a higher level, make sure you like the video so this reaches the few who are ready for it. Share it with someone who still doesn't see what's really going on around them. And subscribe, because here we don't teach you how to be liked, we teach you how to be respected. And if you want the deeper, unfiltered strategies, the ones I can't put out publicly, check the link in the description. That's where the real transformation begins.